This podcast provides information to help esports professionals identify and approach legal problems. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. Legal information is not the same as legal advice, which is an application of law to a party's specific set of circumstances.
You should not and are not authorized to use this podcast as a source of legal advice. And the information in this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship between the Law of Esports podcast, any of the lawyers or affiliates of the podcast, and any consumer of this podcast.
Welcome to the Law of Esports podcast, the #1 podcast that discusses legal issues as they relate to the world of esports. My name is Jake Hicks, and I'm an attorney that represents teams, leagues, and organizations.
And my name is Nefi Lopez, and I'm an attorney that represents players, streamers, and personalities.
And today we have a fantastic episode for you. It's another episode in our series of Pro Ops episodes where we talk to professionals from across the esports industry. And today, if you guys haven't been watching esports, haven't been caught up over the past week or the past couple weeks, on July 3rd, Rocket League Championship Series Spring Major Finals, the largest esport on streaming platforms on anything for that day in the entire world, was the Rocket League Championship Series Spring Major. Absolutely exploding onto the scene. And the #1 team, the Rocket League Championship Series Spring Major champions, were Moist Esports. And we are fortunate enough today to have the coach and manager of the Moist Esports Rocket League team with us today, Mr. Noah Hinder. Noah, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. We're so excited to have you, especially because you do have that role of both coach and manager. And we think that's so important in this industry because, we're now at a point where esports has gone so far forward that you really need solid management and also a way of just pushing a team forward more than just having your group of guys that are at a LAN tournament. Because you guys are doing big, big things. And it had to have felt good to be the Spring Major in London, hometown favorites, and come away with that win. So we're happy to have you.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Noah. As we were talking behind the scenes, we kind of gave you an idea as to what we wanted to talk about today. And, with Moist Esports being so new on the scene, you guys have really made a splash. No pun intended. You guys were on the scene. You guys have been killing it. And I think you guys, specifically the coaches and the managers, don't get enough credit. And so we said, let's get Noah on. Let's let him, talk a little bit about how he came to where he is now and where he's going to go. Because, Jake and I were talking, and, Rocket League, I think, is going to be big in the future. And, you heard it here first. You guys, Noah and his team are going to be superstars. And so we kind of want to get to know you a little bit more, man. And so with that being said, let's do what we typically ask and tell us a little bit of, about where you grew up, a little bit about, your early history with esports.
I grew up in a small town in England, played a lot of games when I was younger, played a lot of football, or should I say soccer for you guys? I was always into the competitive side. I was quite a competitive child. Used to get into plenty of arguments with my siblings over games, whatever. Just always wanted to win, always wanted to be the best. So that kind of, transitioned into gaming. I played a lot of Call of Duty when I was younger with friends. Again, same competition, always wanted to be the best, always wanted to beat them, bragging rights at school and stuff. Rocket League was a great game for me. I played a lot of football, so it was kind of went hand in hand. It was just because it's such a mechanical game almost, and there's no other game like it. There's no transferable skills to where I would just sit and play and just try and get better every day. And I had a couple of friends that played it, so there's always that competition. You always want to be the best, and I guess that's where it all started.
Yeah, and that.
Well, how old were you when you started getting into Rocket League?
So it was 20. When did it come out? 2015, I think. So I played it on the day it released on PS4. So I was probably, 17, I guess, 16, 17.
Nice. That's awesome.
And so you obviously started playing Rocket League pretty early on. And we noticed because Rocket League is such a young esport, and it's a relatively new game compared to a lot of the other esport games, a lot of guys are really young. And so was Rocket League the first game that kind of catapulted you into esports? Or obviously you said you played Call of Duty. Did you compete in any like Call of Duty, either rookie or amateur games like CS:GO or anything like that before you went full pro on Rocket League?
No, I mean, again, like Call of Duty was just casual. I mean, I didn't really sort of see the esports side of gaming until I came across Rocket League, because I'd be watching loads of stuff on YouTube about it, and you come across like Kronovi and whatever back in the day, best player in the world, and then it goes on to then the esports. So I think the first esports event I watched was season 3 Worlds.
Okay.
And just watching that kind of opened my eyes to what people can do and how much potential the game has. And then from there on, I was just grinding the game, learning, like getting better. And obviously, and again, like meeting loads of people through it as well. The people that I know now, I've known for years now, and met them through the game.
Nice, yeah. And that's
awesome.
I'm sorry, Jake. Here, and just to kind of piggyback off of what I was going to say before, a reoccurring theme we see is that the guys are guys like yourself that are big into the scene are very competitive. And I was just going to basically add a comment to that. Would you contribute that competitiveness into you being serious about turning it from just a casual game into like a more of a career and potential esports?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think you can get this far without having that competitive nature. If you're sort of relaxed and chill and playing casually, I don't know. For like some of my friends that I know that are casual gamers, just kind of they'll jump between games and they'll play it, enjoy it, and then once they kind of gotten their fun out of it, they'll drop it. But the fun kind of never ended for me, because it was always the enjoyment was getting better and being better than everyone else, and trying to climb my way up to the top.
Nice. Go ahead, Jake. I didn't mean to cut you off earlier.
No, you're good. And I always have this question because I'm always interested, because there's always a kind of a little bit of time between when someone picks up a title and when they go pro. And so I think you had started playing in 2015, but then you go pro around 2018. In that time where you're leading up and competing and getting better and better, did you have a favorite org or other favorite players that you would watch to kind of just either be entertained or to see how to pick up tips and get better at the game?
No, I mean, calling me pro is very nice. I don't think I was that good, but yeah, no, like when I was getting better, I watched the likes of like Devo and like Kronovi, Cooksir, all the like OG legends of the game, really, and just seeing how they played and how they got to the top and stayed at the top with the different metas, the different ways they played, like even through towards like I guess a bit more recently with like Dignitas and Cloud9 sort of in season 5 and 6, just how they kind of revolutionized the game. And it was more than just being the best. It was also finding different ways to beat a team. You don't necessarily have to be the best individual players, just sort of have to have the right mindset going in, and there's a lot more to it. And I guess that's kind of where I got my love for coaching a bit as well, is kind of figuring out how these teams do well and why it works, and then trying to like seeing how they do that consistently and how it works against different play styles and etc.
Okay. And so you started playing, and then obviously you transitioned to coaching at some point. When did playing Rocket League transition? So we kind of set up a timeline. You started playing around 2015. You kind of got into the pro scene in 2018. Now you're leading one of the best, arguably the best, Rocket League teams right now. At what point, did you transition from just a casual to a competitive player to now being a coach where you are now for Moist?
I mean, well, I started subbing for them back when they were, before they signed with Queso, when they were just Magnolia at the start of this season just gone. And they had a coach already, but I was always sat in comms with them. I was always like hyping them up, basically just like being a cheerleader almost.
Yeah.
Because it's all, yeah, exactly. I mean, because I was good friends with them. It's always I love to see them do well, so I wanted to be there for them if they needed me and whatever. And then obviously when they made the decision to drop their coach, I sort of jumped at the opportunity. I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I knew it was something like anything where I could be involved and help the guys be as good as they can, I was willing to do. So I guess that's where it kind of transitioned from playing to coaching.
Nice.
Were you already a manager at that point, or did you transition into that manager role?
No, I mean, I just kind of picked it all up on the fly. I mean, again, the org have been great. The players have been great, kind of helping me a bit, because they don't do any managing, but they know what it's like and what they expect. So it's nice to have people that I know well that can tell me when I'm doing something wrong, not afraid to have a go at me or whatever. And I think that's what's helped me a lot.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And so,
that's awesome. Was there things that, because you were on teams before, were there things that you had seen from managers in the past that you just didn't like, that you thought, man, if I'm a manager one day, I'm going to correct that and do that better?
I didn't really have much experience with managers before. Because back when I was playing Rocket League, it was serious, but a lot, they didn't have coaches on stage or anything at LANs, and it was all kind of just it was still developing. So yeah, some teams have managers, but
right.
you would I never really interact with them. And their main thing was pretty much finding scrims and finding weekly tournaments to play. So they seem to have done their job well. A lot of teams got a lot of scrims and played in a lot of tournaments. So,
nice.
But yeah, I never really had sort of one-to-one experience with them.
Okay. And so you're actually one of the first coaches that we've interviewed on the podcast. We're hoping to get a few other guys. Eli the Ninja with G1 is one of the guys that we're hoping to get on soon. He's in the transition of, he just moved to Austin and is dealing with, the whole integrating to a new city. And so, but one of the things that people don't really know about is there's obviously a very different skill set that's required from a coach and a professional player. And so how did you develop, or how do you think that you developed your skill sets as a coach for a Rocket League team that makes you successful and has kind of helped you kind of catapult the team into the spotlight?
I don't really think there's anything special. It's just kind of having the trust between the players and the coach. Again, as I've said, I've known Joy and Rise for ages. Obviously, I get along really well with Vatira, so that I feel like they trust me and they like having me up there. It's nice, it's nice to have somebody that you like up there and this cheering you on, because Rocket League's such a fast paced game that there's not really too much I can say in the middle of a game. Right. As soon as you start thinking about what you're doing and trying to change it, it's too far gone. So I'm kind of just there on stage just to hype them up, give them confidence, and I think they appreciate that because it's someone that they know well.
Awesome.
Well, so in that vein, we haven't talked to a lot of coaches yet on this podcast, but when you're at a LAN, when you're at a championship series, at a major, what is kind of your day-to-day look like? Because we know for players, you're working on playing the game, maybe watch back a VOD, you're going to warm up, you're going to play, you're going to cool down, you're going to make sure that you have everything going to play the game successfully. But from a coach's perspective, what are you doing in the tournament environment?
What you mean, leading up to it?
Yeah.
Just kind of mentally preparing myself, I guess, because I'm the one that needs to kind of mediate the mood. If they're getting too hyped, I need to chill them out. If they're not getting hyped enough, I need to hype them up. But it's just kind of getting that right mindset to where they can focus on themselves, not have to worry about me sitting in the background getting too nervous or too overexcited or whatever. It's just kind of I guess just regulating the mood and helping them where they need it.
Awesome.
Do you ever see a play in a match and say, okay, we need to go back and watch that VOD and figure out what happened?
Not too much. Again, Rocket League is so situational and so fast paced. It's not like tactical shooters where you can go back and look at something and pick it apart. Because you get into sort of similar situations every game, and if they're at the top of the game, if they make one mistake, they normally know that they've made the mistake, and it just happens in the heat of the moment almost. So it's almost kind of bad sometimes if you constantly go over it, because you're just reminding the player and then he might, if he gets into that situation again, might overthink it, when all you need to be doing is just kind of push them towards making the right decision, trusting themselves, and just having confidence in what they do.
Nice. And so
that's a sign of a good coach, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that also kind of highlights the difference between the skill sets required to play something like Rocket League versus Call of Duty. And like you said, it's not really a skill that transitions too well between esports, which is why Rocket League is so amazing, because it's unlike any other game that we had before. We've got Halo, Call of Duty, CS:GO. Those are all first person or third person shooters. Rocket League, you're literally playing football or soccer as a little car, and you're trying to score goals, and it's so unique and it's so fun to watch. But let's kind of shift a little bit over, and let's talk about Moist Esports in particular. Can you kind of fill us in a little bit on the history? I know they're relatively new. You dropped some names like Magnolia or whatever it was called before it formally turned to esports. Were you there at the beginning whenever Moist Esports and the Moist Rocket League team was created, or did you kind of join a little bit later after? And tell us a little bit about that history there.
Yeah, so we were originally, obviously, as I said, it was Magnolia. It was just like a name, like we weren't signed. And then they got signed by Team Queso, a Spanish org. They've been in Rocket League before, so, at the time, it was good. We were an unproven team. It was, money for them, so they were just like, yeah. But so after the first split, it wasn't the best. I think our best result was top 8. But again, it was their first split together, so we were like, yeah, this is fine. It was only getting better. And then obviously we came into the win split and just, one came second, one again. And it kind of just like catapulted us up to the top. And then obviously there were loads of bigger orbs coming in for us, and, rightly so. We thought, the players thought they were worth a bit more than what, they were getting paid, because originally, they signed when they were an unproven team. And then Moist came in. Again, I didn't really do much of the negotiation. I wasn't signed to Queso as a sub, but I was talking to them and I was like, this is a great opportunity. Don't waste it. Pretty much, we can sign with a tier 1 org. It would be great, like you get the money, but I just think just how the Moist is set up, how it all works, and after talking to him as well, I was like, this is like an opportunity you can't turn down.
Okay, and let me piggyback off of that question. Whenever you say how they're set up, what is different about Moist Esports that attracted you to them versus all the other orgs that were chasing you guys down? Because obviously you guys were successful pretty early on.
Yeah, I don't have any experience on tier 1 orgs, but from my experience under Moist, it's a lot more. I don't want to call them unprofessional, but it's way more like chilled, relaxed. It doesn't seem it doesn't feel like a job. I'm speaking to Matt, the co-owner, every day. We're good friends now. It was really nice to see him in London. And it doesn't feel like it's super professional, super like, they have obviously they have expectations of me, but I can kind of talk to them about stuff and they'll talk to me on like a personal level. If I have any issues or anything. But yeah, no, it's just nice to have someone that I guess like doesn't sort of anything too seriously, I guess. In the nicest way possible.
Yeah, no, and obviously we don't want to say anything negative, because it sounds like from our conversations is you were having a great experience with all the other teams before, but was that sort of the way that Moist Esports runs, was that very different from the way that like Team Queso was running whenever you guys were working for them?
Yeah, so obviously we had like a team manager under Queso, but they had loads of other teams, and it was just a bit awkward, like going through someone and then like that someone that's dealing with us is just kind of relaying the stuff that their managers telling them, so it's not necessarily stuff that they want to say. So then if you ask them a question back, instead of them answering truthfully, they have to go back to the manager, ask them, and it's just going through a lot of people, so it just kind of slowed down getting things done. But whereas now, I'm pretty much just dealing with one person. The players the players come to me because they don't really want to have to be sitting around messaging people. But if they want the players to go straight to Matt and get things sorted out then and there.
Yeah. Okay, and one more question. Awesome. One more question before I let Jake ask the next one. And you don't obviously we don't want any specifics as far as quantities, but obviously money is a big thing for players, right? Us, especially as esports attorneys, we want to make sure that the org and the team kind of their relationship stays. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Whenever Moist Esports came to you guys, do you feel like they really were treating you guys as the value that you guys had, and they were able to compete with all the other T1 esports that were Team 1 esport teams that were competing for you guys to sign y'all? Yeah,
definitely. After looking at what they sort of offer us, I feel like we've got sort of one of the best contracts in Rocket League at the moment. They took us seriously. They treated us and gave us the offer as if we were the best team in the world, because that's what we are.
And you guys are the best team in the world, exactly.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like they made the right decision.
Yeah, exactly. And they definitely took us serious.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, so I just want to change gears and ask more about your role as a coach and manager as it relates to your players. Because in esports, you do have a responsibility at this point as a coach and a manager to keep your players winning,
Yeah.
but also to keep them like healthy and happy and in the right frame of mind the entire time. So I know that as of right now, you're coach and manager, but in your mind, what is the difference between those two roles? So like, what do you do as a coach that's different from what you have to do as a manager, and how do you balance that?
I mean, the coaching side of it, because we don't really tend to do too much outside of the game. Obviously, you know, them lot, they're all grinding the game, but at the same time, we kind of already have a way we like to play, and it's not necessarily something that I need to sit down and go over replays and do all that. So it definitely makes it a lot easier to do both. So when I'm, you know, not watching scrims and not like talking to them about the game, I can then focus on the sort of manager side, and, you know, it's just getting scrims, getting all the, you know, all the boring stuff really. But I'm just making their life easier, so they only have to focus on playing. Because once you start adding in other factors to like just playing Rocket League, you know, your performance is gonna take a hit because of it.
Yeah, and so what other factors are you talking about at that point? And as far as that, is that at majors, or is that during scrims leading up to a major?
What do you mean?
Like when you're talking about other factors that
right.
impact the players as they're leading up to.
Yeah, I mean, well, just like I'm just dealing with everything. So if, you know, the org has a request, it will go through me. You know, if there's any, like, I don't know, well, just anything about the team will go through me rather than the team, so they're not having to think about all these other factors. And like, for example, like, I don't know, like tournament invites and, you know, all the stuff. So I can kind of filter out the less serious stuff, so then I'm constantly reading, because, you know, you can be as professional and as sort of like high up as you want, but you're still going to get the odd DM where it's like just not, it's, you know, it's not, I'm not trying to like be disrespectful, but it's just not worth it for us at this point. So instead of them having
podcast interviews,
no, not that.
but that's important, right? To keep your guys in the right frame of mind as they're going forward, especially when you have world champions on your hands.
Exactly.
And speaking of, so you have an amazing squad right now. I mean, spring world favorites, spring major champions, an absolute squad playing this game. But outside of that, as a coach and a manager, what do you look for in a player that makes you think they would be successful?
Well, obviously they need, you know, the talent, the skill in game. But I think in Rocket League, especially at the moment, that everybody is quite young. So it's not necessarily having experience. It's just like you can kind of tell when someone is, if you see them outside a tournament and inside a tournament, some players play really differently, because in scrims or, you know, rank, they don't care. They're just playing how they want. As soon as it gets to a tournament, they start thinking, they're putting pressure on themselves. But that's why, you know, I love working with the team so much, is that how we play in scrims is how we try and play in a tournament. There's no point, you know, playing like away in scrims and then going to tournament and playing completely different. I think that's a big issue with a lot of the pro teams. It's getting better, but I still see it where a team will play like out of their mind in scrims, like consistently. They will be consistently beating us at scrims, and then we'll play them in a tournament and we'll sweep them, because they're just not playing how they do. Because I don't know, either pressure, they care too much, they're too scared to take risks, or I don't know what it is.
Conservative.
But but there's definitely a difference between scrims and tournaments for some teams.
Nice.
Okay, so if you were if you're looking at a young player, or if a young player was looking to get into professional Rocket League, what pointers would you have for them making that challenge? It's
just, well, obviously, you know, you want to be playing the right way. But it's just playing with confidence. If you know you're good enough, then, you know, what's the point of compensating for it just because you're in a tournament or whatever? If you're better than the other team, if you feel like you're better than the other team, then go out and show it. Like, there's no point sitting and, you know, play. I see some people, like, you know, try and play around their teammates because they don't want to get away. It's like, nah, just go and show people why you're good enough, or why you're as good as you think you are.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's so important, just to be able to have that path to success, but also it's great to hear from someone that's successful in the space, you know, to see what you got to do, because that's huge. Have you ever had any challenges with this roster in terms of looking a little too conservative and having to talk to them and tell them to open up their play style?
No, I mean, you can see just with how they act on stage, they're super confident guys. They don't really care. They're just there to play the game, enjoy it. I mean, I don't really have to say too much in game. It's just kind of just hyping them up, because, again, once they're confident, they're the best team in the world. And yeah, as you can see, they don't struggle with that, with the confidence side of it.
Yeah.
Nice. And so let's change gears again, and let's talk about something that very recent and something that you went viral for, which was, and I'm sure everybody that's listening to this podcast wants to hear kind of a little bit about it, right? We've already agreed we're not going to get too deep into it, but let's address that elephant in the room. Just a few days ago, or actually, what's today, the 9th? Yesterday, you put out a tweet about events coming up, right? You guys are getting ready for Worlds, and then there's a big tournament, the Gamers Without Borders tournament in Saudi Arabia. And you've made the statement that you made. We're not going to talk about this statement, and that is clear. Your position is clear, and and we tip our hats to you for taking the stand and doing what you think is right, and arguably what we tend to agree with you on that position. But one of the most important things is having an org that supports their players and supports their managers. You've already told us about that relationship you've had with Moist, but can you tell us a little bit more about how they've been and obviously how it feels to you to have the org support you 100%?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to come out and say anything if they didn't want me to. I obviously went over with them before and kind of asked them if this all right. And it's just nice to have people support me for kind of who I am, and like I don't know, just like I can say something and then people will have my back.
That's awesome, man.
Obviously, there's going to be hate regardless, but it's just nice to have people that actually respect me back.
That's good. And was that something that you, and obviously from what we talked about earlier, that's something that attracted you to Moist Esports, was that you're not dealing with a middleman, like a team manager that they're like, oh well, let me ask the boss. You're talking directly with the boss, and so whenever you let them know, hey guys, this is how I feel. What was that interaction with? Was it like 100% support? You guys kind of broke it down, talked about it, and explored it, and then made a decision, or were they just like, hey, whatever you think is best for the team, we support you?
Yeah, well, I just said, because I think we were all in agreement that we weren't going to go. It wasn't sort of, I see a lot of people saying it was just my decision, but I think it was a collective between us and the org to not go. But I just said, I was like, I would like to make a statement on it. I'd like to say something about it. And they were just like, yeah, like go for it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And that's something that something you don't see very often. And obviously Jake and I deal with a lot of different orgs. And because of the politics involved with it, especially you see it a lot in traditional sports. I mean, I don't know if you follow American basketball, but a lot of these guys will make certain comments about like China, for example, and then they'll lose a bunch of Chinese corporate sponsors that they have, and the team will like either punish the player or punish the coach. We're from Houston, and the Rockets was a big thing with China, where they had issues with the coach. Is it have you noticed that Moist Esports, because there's such a direct connection between you and them, that they don't really handle it like most other corporate large teams do? Would you say they're different in that regard as well?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the only real experience I've had with that stuff. But again, they just like, obviously I spoke to them and they were fine with it. Obviously I wasn't going to go against them if they said, but they respect me, I respect them, so it was just like kind of a mutual agreement,
awesome,
I guess.
Man. That's awesome. And just if Jake and I can add a comment to that, and Jake, I'll let you kind of add a comment after I do, but we really want to kind of tip our hats off and just shout out Moist Esports along with you and the rest of the team that $2 million is a lot of money, and to such a young org, that could really, I mean, that could catapult you guys to a whole different level. You guys can continue to expand into other esports, and for you guys to choose values over money, which is something that I'm sure a lot of people that have shown their support, you guys are really putting your values over money. It speaks volumes. And so we just want to, now that we have you in person, we want to salute you for taking that stand, and salute everybody at Moist Esports, including the owners from Charlie, and everybody else, that you directly communicate with. We, us, the attorneys and the host of the Law of Esports, want to shout you guys out and just kind of tip our hats. And so with that being said, I'll kind of hand off to Jake and see if he wants to add anything to that.
I mean, the only thing I'll add, and no, I think you're also aware, is that for esports player, one of the most important things is winning tournaments. And from an esports org perspective, one of the most difficult things, the most difficult challenges that Nefi and I have to discuss all the time is monetizing your org. And one of the few ways you can do that is by winning tournaments. And there's not a whole lot of other opportunities out there. And so skipping a tournament, especially one that has a 7-figure prize pool, is a big step. And usually, in Nefi and I's experience on the legal side, people will skip tournaments for the wrong reasons. Either their team backs out because they have disagreements with management, or because they have a disagreement with the tournament organizers from a sponsor or brand perspective. And so it was really refreshing for us to see what we believe is, in our opinion, a team sacrificing a big aspect of esports for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And so our hats off to you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I know you muted your that particular tweet. So you and I would, if I were you, I would just probably not go back and read it in case there are some negative things, because I know that can affect your psyche and I don't want it to be. But if it makes you feel any better, Jake and I have kind of combed through it, and you've got a lot of support, man. You've got our support, and you have supports from huge people like, Richard Lewis, a lot of, Team Liquid, just everybody. Okay. So know that the community is behind you and we support you. And so with that being said, let's kind of change gears again and talk about what Moist Esports kind of has going on right now, and what you guys plan to do in the future. And so obviously the next thing is that you guys have coming up is Worlds, right? You guys have any events or anything between then and now?
No, Worlds is, I think it starts in just under a month. I think it's the 4th of August, I think is the first day.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what are you guys doing now to kind of prepare for that?
Well, we're currently having just a week off from LAN. It's nice to just kind of take some time off. But next week we'll start preparing. We'll start scrimming. We'll start getting back into the mindset of it all. And then we're going to go to the Moist facility to go boot camp before.
Nice.
So just to kind of get out there, see everyone, it'd be nice, because it's so much nicer being out there, especially like not even just with the org, just with the players. It's nice to see them physically, but we'll obviously get to meet everyone from the org. That'll be great as well. And then I guess, we'll be there for a week. Then we'll go to Dallas, and just be playing, preparing, getting back into the LAN mindset.
Hopefully we're there actually
on winning.
Hopefully we go to Dallas, because I don't know if you know this, we're Houston, Texas based, and Dallas is just a several hour drive for us. And so, but before we move on, I kind of want to slow down a little bit. And Jake, I know I'm kind of hogging the mic a little bit, but for those of you guys that are new to Moist Esports, why don't you, as the manager and the coach, break down the team and tell us a little bit about everybody, and add a little bit of comments, because I'm sure the guys, I'm sure if they listen to this episode, they're going to want to hear what you have to say about them. So who are the members of the team, and tell us a little bit about each one.
I mean, they're all great guys, but you've got Joyo. He's very he loves to express himself. He's got the pink and blue hair. Loves to get up and do a little dance on stage. He's super and he's super expressive in game as well. He's probably got the best mechanics in the world right now. I don't think anybody comes close, but that's just probably me being biased. And you saw the goal he scored in the last game of the major. He's an insane player, insane person. I mean, there's not really much more I can really say. You've got Rise, who is, the Iceman, scores in the clutch moments. Again, a great person. Love the guy. He's just our go-to guy in the clutch. And then you've got Vatira, who's our little Frenchie. He's great. When I first spoke to him, he couldn't understand a word I was saying, but it's gotten way better now. He's an insane player, well deserved of the defensive MVP. I thought he played incredible. I mean, everybody played incredible. I can't just sit here and say that it was one person. It was a team effort. But I love them. I love them all. They're like my younger siblings. It's great to see him succeed. I feel super proud, especially being able to share that moment with them on stage. It was such a surreal experience.
Okay. And do you guys, does everybody live in different places? Do you guys meet regularly in person? Because I know that's a big thing that comes to chemistry is kind of getting together with your teammates. Where's everybody at? Is everybody?
No, we're kind of all over the place. So Joyo lives in the north of England. I live in the south of England. Rise lives in Portugal, and obviously Vatira lives in France. So we only really meet up when if we have like a boot camp or a tournament. Okay. But we all regularly talk to each other online. It's not just because I think that's another thing that kind of makes us a perfect fit for Moist and helps us succeed is that we're all good friends. We don't only talk to each other when it's about the game or in scrims. We're talking to each other outside of it, just day-to-day stuff. What you talk to your mates about. So it creates a really good environment for us to play in.
Awesome. And where's the Moist
all-
Esports
what's-
headquarters,
where's-
by the way? Yeah, I don't know if that's what you're gonna ask.
I was just
Jake.
going to ask that exact same question. Yeah,
It's in Florida, I'm pretty sure. It's in Tampa, I think.
in the United States, right? Because I think that's where
Yeah.
Charlie's from. Is in Florida.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Jake. I'll let you
Yeah.
take over because I asked like
Well,
the last
so-
5 questions.
No, I mean, I have some more sports questions just because I'm a sports background guy. But in terms of going into Worlds, who do you see as your biggest challenge in terms of other orgs? Because the spring major was, some orgs that people didn't see as favorites ended up having some pretty strong showings.
Yeah.
Obviously, Moist was a favorite and ended up being champions, and you guys are favorites going into Worlds. Who do you see as your biggest threats in Worlds?
Well, obviously, you've got that Falcons team. They're a fantastic team, all great individual players, all a great team together, and they obviously showed that in spring. You've got BDS, who didn't really have the best major, but I just think they need a bit of time. They needed that kind of first sort of major together. I think they'll use that as motivation to grind now and be the best team that they can. You've also got NRG, who weren't at the spring major, but I think they're in a similar situation to where they've had a bit of disappointment. They're all great players on LAN. Obviously, they made the finals in the first major in full, so I think they'll be back and better than they have been recently. Other than that, I mean, I can't really think of the teams that are going off the top of my head, really.
No offense to the guys you've forgotten.
No. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm just focused on us right now. We know that there's no point in thinking about how the other teams are going to play, because at the end of the day, if we play our best, we'll win the whole thing.
Nice.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Yeah, man. Well, we're really excited to see Worlds. I think we're going to be able to catch it. Neff, I know we have to go to Call of Duty Champs the first week of August, but I think this is 12th through 14th. So I think we can probably make it up there and hang out.
That'd be great if you can come.
Oh yeah. We
man.
try to make as many events as we can, and because Rocket League is not necessarily super new, but is relatively new compared to everybody else. Jake and I really kind of needed to dip our fingers a little more into the scene, because we try to get as involved as we can. Our newest one that we really got deep into is CS:GO, and that was amazing to watch, and it's been great being in that scene. But Rocket League, man, just watching the last major was, dude, it was so exhilarating and so much fun, because I'm also a soccer fan, by the way, and my family. So in case you didn't know, I'm Mexican. My favorite team is the Tigres from Monterrey. Let me ask you this, because I forgot to ask at the beginning. Who's your favorite football team?
I'm probably gonna get lost stick with this. Arsenal. I used to support them growing up. I mean, I don't follow football too much anymore, but I mean, if I do follow football, then that's the team I follow. I'd feel like a scum if I changed team. So
hey, one of my favorite players played at Arsenal, Chicharito. I don't know if you remember him. That guy was a superstar with you guys for a little bit. So, and I've got some friends that are huge Arsenal fans too. So I'm not going to be the one that's going to hate. So I'll just show love for Arsenal. Nice, man. And so as you know, this is obviously a legal podcast, or we try to be, right? Obviously, it's a mix of law and esports. Let's kind of shift and talk about the legal aspect of that. Obviously, you're new to the esport, and so your exposure to it is a little different, especially since you're not necessarily a professional player right now. You're as a coach and a manager. But what are some things, right? Let's say we have another kid, right? A girl, guy, however they refer to themselves, are looking to start a career in esports. What are some things that you can recommend to them in order for them to be able to break into the scene? Because I think that's the hardest part. I
mean, you just got to be kind of. I don't really know how to sort of explain it, or you just got to kind of like take the opportunities, but also kind of think them through. Things are in like a long term, because you don't want to be, especially with signing contracts, you don't want to be signing something that's like, way too beneficial for the org or whatever. Absolutely. And it's just exploiting you, because I think that's a big issue, especially in Rocket League, because everybody's so young, they don't necessarily see the importance of signing a contract. I think most of the time I've seen a lot of, not like before, where somebody would sign something and then they sign for a year, 2 months later they already want to go out, and it's like, well, you should have. Again, it's hard to tell, but you've also got to kind of think ahead, put yourself like, where do I want to be in 6 months, a year,
100%.
like however long the contract is, like where do I see myself at the end of this? Because if you're like a massive up and coming player and you think you can be the best player in the world in like a year's time, why would you sign a contract for 2 years that is paying you nothing, or like is completely exploiting you? Because then if you do become the best player in the world and you've still got a year left, that org is going to hold on to you and do everything they can to keep you on that contract.
100%.
Yeah.
And I guess for you guys, because I mean, y'all saw a little bit of that with going from unproven, signing with Team Queso, and it's, I mean, everything you say, I want to highlight it, right? If it was on paper, I would highlight it because you're absolutely right. Especially with you guys going from an unproven team to now arguably one of the best teams, and in my opinion, I think you guys have done outstanding. As a coach, do you deal with the same issues as professional players, like where they're like, hey, here's a contract, take a look at it and sign it?
Well, luckily for us, the players all signed with an agency, and I'm not, but they were nice enough to kind of, because they did the players contract, so they kind of, you normally do like the coaches off the players,
right?
So they just kind of did that. So it wasn't. Well, obviously, when I got the contract, there wasn't really sort of anything that I needed to change because it had all been sort of sorted out by an agency and someone who, their job is to just sit and look at contracts pretty much.
Right.
So I think that's another important thing is just either, like if you're going to sign a lot of contracts or whatever, just get an agency or be friends with someone, or like for me, my mum used to, yeah, exactly. But like for me, my mum used to work at a company where she used to deal with a lot of like contracts and stuff, so I would just get her to read over it. Obviously she had no idea about the like esports side, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't signing my life away or anything stupid, if there wasn't anything in like the small print or something. But yeah, it's just knowing what you're signing and kind of thinking about where you'll be in the future, and then where the contract kind of, like if you think it'll be worth in 6 months to a year's time.
Right.
Do you have an idea or an opinion? Let's say there's the aspiring Rocket League player who's very good, who is 16 years old, who wants to sign with a pro team, and pro teams want to sign him. Do you think there's a optimal amount of time for that contract to last, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, 8 months? Do you think there's like an optimal time in the scene?
I don't really know. Normally, I mean, I'd say it depends when they sign. If they sign at like a start of the season, I would maybe sort of say sign to maybe the end of the season or like a year. But again, it just depends on what your aspirations are. If you're up and coming and you're desperate for money, you desperately want to get it, then like that's up to you if you sign or not. But if you think, I'll turn this down because I believe that I can be even better and get even more, then yeah, I mean, it just depends on what your aspirations are and how good you done, how like confident you are in yourself, I guess. But there is a line that you cross to where it's, you can only turn down so much to where it's a bit stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think there is a level of kind of, I guess, like self-respect when it comes to signing contracts.
And with you being in the scene,
that makes sense.
And I'm sure you talk to other players and other coaches. As far as you've heard, without getting into the details of your particular contract, but what is the average that have you noticed? Are people mainly signing 6 months, 1 year? Whenever you ask somebody, hey, how long are you in the contract for? Don't tell us any names because I'm sure a lot of that stuff is confidential. But what is a typical time that you see? So if somebody's listening to this, they know, what, I should probably be looking at a year, 6 months, or a full season. I mean, what are you hearing? What's out there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's if they're signing like a new team, like none of them are signed, it's probably about a year, I want to say. But with like, I feel like a lot of teams make a lot of changes, so if you are that one person, like if you're joining two other players who are signed, like it would be worth to just get signed until the end of the other two's like contract, because if you sign for longer than the other two, they end their contract, and then you're the best team in the world, you've got all these offers, and now the orgs realize they have to pay your buyout. They're less likely to sign you. It kind of closes your options up a bit. So yeah, it all just depends on the situation. But if you're talking about like signing 3 players, it's normally about a year, because it's normally done sort of pre-season or after the first split.
Nice,
because you can already tell if teams are going to stick or if they're good enough or not.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so you guys have Worlds coming up. You guys are doing boot camp now. When does boot camp start for you guys? They're going to be starting pretty soon. I know you said you got a week off. So are you guys going to head over to Florida next?
Yeah. So we'll head off like a week before the event starts. We haven't got a specific date in mind yet, but I assume it's like the 27th or something. So we can go out there. I think the plan is kind of get out there, see everyone, like have a couple of days of just chilling. I don't know what we'll do, but I'm sure they'll have stuff planned for us.
Right.
And then
the beach.
yeah, probably something fun. And then for the last couple of days it'll just be kind of sitting inside, grinding out the game, and just getting back to where we were before spring major.
Nice, man. And I'm sure a lot of people are asking themselves because, kind of part of the reason why Moist has been successful is because of the guys that are running it all. We talked about the people you regularly talk with, but, Charlie, Moist Critical, somebody that everybody is a huge fan of for the most part, at least we are. What has been your experience like working with somebody like Charlie and the team that Charlie has set up to run Moist Esports? I mean, how has that been, and how often do you interact with the guy?
It's great. I mean, we don't interact with him too much. Again, it's mainly done through Matt, kind of his right-hand man, but it's great. I mean, you watch Charlie on his streams and people probably start like he's starting an esports org, like he can't be that serious, but he's super serious about it. I think they originally started it around like one Smash player. They just funded him to go to an event, and instead of just giving him money, I think they made an org around him, and it all started from there. So, I mean, again, I think we were the perfect fit. We were kind of, we wanted to kind of help them go to the next level. They obviously help us go to the next level. It works hand in hand. But yeah, no, Charlie's super serious about it. He's super supportive of us. He wants us to do the best, to be the best. And I mean, I guess it's showing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's actually working really, really well.
Okay, and
that's awesome.
And so you guys are gonna head over to Dallas sometime relatively soon. Let's we're getting towards kind of the end here now. Moist Esports is new. You're the coach and the manager for their Rocket League team. Have you guys had conversations about what's next? Like you just said, I mean, and it was perfect. You guys started out with a Smash, just sponsoring somebody to go to a Smash tournament. It's turned into what it is now. Have you guys talked about expanding, maybe adding another team or growing Moist Esports into something bigger?
I mean, I just do the Rocket League stuff. I have no idea what they're planning to do.
That's your focus. Okay.
Yeah. That's the main focus. I mean, again, I'm just kind of the manager for the team, so I don't really work kind of with Moist and what they're doing in other aspects. I just kind of make sure the team are on the right, just getting them in the right place, right time, in the right mindset, so they don't have to worry about it. And again, if they have any questions about the Rocket League side of things, they can go through me and I'll have, all the answers for them.
Nice. Okay. And so you're running the Rocket League team. Obviously, this is all your time and effort is going straight into this. Is there anything else you're working on? Do you have any other projects going on that, you're excited about?
Not really. No. I mean, I'm kind of new to all this. It's kind of exploded, and I guess.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really known before, and now I just kind of come out and everyone kind of knows me. I get shouted at for pitches in London. It was it was a bit crazy, but. I mean, I want to start working on my own personal stuff in the off season, like maybe do, I think, like online coaching, maybe start doing like streaming and stuff, YouTube videos, whatever, just kind of getting my knowledge out there, I guess. Not too many secrets given away, but just kind of because I want to give back to the scene. I think it's important that, players that are coming up, I understand what it's like for how a pro team works. Not necessarily sitting there and telling an individual like, oh, you're in this situation, you should do this. It's just kind of like, I want to do more of it. So it's more about like kind of the mentality side, not it's not as like black and white as everyone thinks it is. I see all these coaching videos where they give this is how you rotate in threes. And it's like, well, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to that. You watch us play, and we like idiots that
nice,
if you kind of analyze the rotation, it's just everybody just going for the ball when they want to go for it. It's not necessarily of like a certain, I'm in this position, so I'm going to do this. It's like, I'm in this position, I have this X amount of boost, my teammate's in this position, so I'm just going to go for it, really.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, I want to do more stuff like that. Cool. Streaming as well, just something to, I guess, kill time in the off season and to kind of keep me playing the game, keep my brain working and all that.
Okay. Yeah, and there's actually a lot of pro players that do coach as well. I know one of the guys that I know coaches on. I think the website is Metafy is Spartan. He's a professional Halo player. I don't know if you do you follow any other esports, by the way, or only stick with Rocket League?
Not really. I follow Counter-Strike on and off a bit. Okay. A bit of Valorant here and there, but nothing else really.
Okay. Nice, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, before we go though, let's give you a shout out on all your socials. So I know your Twitter is Noah but it's the N and then zero, Zero.
It's N0. Yeah.
Yeah. N0.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Nzero. What about? I know you say you want to stream. Do you have a Twitch? Do you have a YouTube? Do you want somewhere where people can go and they can follow you so we can kind of share that growth?
Yeah. I think my Twitch is the same as my Twitter. I haven't set up a YouTube account yet, but that's something I'll do. I'm sure I'll make a tweet and I'll beg Charlie to go retweet or something. Something like that. But no, it's all going to hopefully start in the off season. But yeah, right now the focus is on Worlds.
Nice, man. Nice. And hopefully you'll have a World victory by then, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll catch you at Worlds. For everyone out there listening, we're putting this episode out pretty quick, and so you'll have a chance to listen to it before Worlds happens. So if you're listening to this podcast, Rocket League World Championship in Fort Worth, Texas, August 12th through 14th at the Dickies Arena. If you're in the area, or if you're in Texas, or if you're anywhere and want to travel, we'd love to see you as well. So please come and hang out. Again, August 12th through 14th, Rocket League World Championship at the Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas.
And for you guys that are looking to buy some tickets, by the way, you guys can get them on Ticketmaster. And I mean, it's all out there, and the tickets are selling out fast. I mean, I'm literally on the website right now, and there's not a whole lot of tickets left. I mean, I think after the last major, everybody's like, I need to get my tickets and get in now. So you guys go ahead and get your tickets now. But with that being said, man, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Noah.
No, I mean, I think you've kind of covered everything really.
Awesome.
But yeah,
awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Great. It's great to come out and talk about how my brain works almost.
No, man. And thank you so much for taking the time to come in and talking to us. For everybody else that's listening, follow Noah on all socials. Follow us on all socials. You guys can find us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We haven't put any TikToks out yet. And YouTube at The Law of Esports. And so thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Noah, for taking the time and coming to talk to us, man.
Thank you.
All right. We will see you guys
that was awesome, man.
at the next episode.
Thanks, guys.